Amon-Ra St. Brown looks like as good as it gets at the wide receiver position in the NFL. Is there anything that would make you not say that guy's a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy football next year?
Let me start with this, Daniel Dopp. You may be aware by now that I did win the War Room.
Oh, you did. Yes. Yes.
And you know who my first pick was?
I believe it was Amon-Ra St. Brown.
It was Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yep.
So if you're going to, as somebody who paid close attention to the performance of Amon-Ra St. Brown, I can tell you that he was one of the most consistent wide receivers week in and week out.
Yep.
That there was always the possibility of him turning a play of 10 yards into 20-something yards. That he managed to score plenty of touchdowns, because a lot of times we have high-volume receivers, but they don't get in the end zone enough. And even on a team where there were multiple scorers,
yes,
they could score on the run, they could score via the pass. And Amon-Ra St. Brown still had the 4th most receiving touchdowns in the league with 10. I wasn't paying that close attention to the numbers, but when you look at some of them, it's not even just a feeling.
No.
He's justified being among the top receivers, that top tier, the Ceedee Lamb, Tyreek Hill,
Justin Jefferson. Yep.
And it's interesting because Rashee Rice is getting there too. But 94.7 receiving yards per game this season. That's 5th most in the league.
That's crazy.
Trailing only these guys you mentioned, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Ceedee Lamb, and Keenan Allen, who, one thing before we get into talking about all the rest of this, I just have to say, because we're looking at all these things and we're projecting for fantasy for next year, there's a caveat there to me, which is 1/4 of the teams do not have a head coach. And it's hard for me to project forward what I expect for some of these players when I don't know who's going to be coaching and what the offense is going to look like. Because I think those offenses could change dramatically for some of these receivers. Keenan Allen, who's coaching the Chargers?
Great question.
What's that going to look like?
Yeah.
And I still think the Justin Herbert-Keenan Allen relationship is strong enough to survive anything, and I think that will continue to be strong, but we don't know what's going to happen.
Well, that Chargers conversation will be interesting because Keenan Allen aging another year. You know how ageist Mike Clay is when it comes to all those projections. And then Mike Williams turning 30, coming off an ACL
tear.
And so that's a big one. He's owed a lot of money too. So, but when you look at this, I'm with you. These are way too early conversations because there's a lot of chips that have yet to fall in order for us to have that. But when I look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, I just don't know how I can not have him inside my top 5 at the wide receiver position. Like you mentioned really quickly, you look at him this year, 119 catches, 119 for 1,500 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns.
That seems good.
That seems really good. And he's on a team with Sam Laporta, who is arguably going to be a top 3 tight end next year, and David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs could be another top 10 running back again next year, and David Montgomery potentially top 20, 25 guy. So this offense is just loaded.
I think the thing to me when you're talking about fantasy wide receivers is one of the phrases that we use a lot is so many mouths to feed. And Detroit Lions have so many mouths to feed when it comes to pass catchers because they have pass-catching running backs.
Yep.
That said, Amon-Ra St. Brown was still putting up these ridiculous numbers. So it does not hurt him to be in an offense where there are multiple options in terms of where they can deliver the ball. And I don't think that changes next year.